Hello. This is my submission for Summer Games Done Quick 2025. I'm going to be running the Room 3. So this is a puzzle game. This is a point and click puzzle game. Before the run starts, I need to set my time on my system to a specific time. And we're just going to go ahead and start my timer at that point. The reason I need to set my time is for a puzzle that comes up about 30 minutes in, or sorry, 15 minutes in. But the start of the run is just pretty simple. After the game loads, don't know why it takes so long on my machine, but it does. I have no idea why the game takes this long to load on my machine. Anyway, the beginning of the game is pretty simple, just a tutorial showing off like basic mechanics, like how the controls work. Here's some lore. So yeah, this is just a tutorial showing off how the controls work. And then we get introduced to the main mechanic of this game and the Room series as a whole is the eyepiece. So the main gimmick of this puzzle series is this eyepiece that can be used to see hidden text and interact with shimmering surfaces like this one. And now we're in Greyhole. I should say before we get too far into the run that there will be some mild abrupt flashing throughout the run, so yeah, that's probably worth mentioning. Now we get to the first real puzzle. Normally the solutions would be written on the top, but only visible with the eyepiece, but I just don't need them. And now we get the eyepiece upgrade to show the main gimmick of... also, some objects can be interacted with in the inventory, like that. Eyepiece upgrade. So this is the main gimmick of the Room 3, is, like, you can, like, use the eyepiece to go in small spaces, like this. There's not really a term that we use to call it, it's just... solve this puzzle. And this game does have a lot of downtime, unfortunately. Another thing worth mentioning is compared to the first two games in the series, the Room 3 has a much bigger focus on like environmental puzzles. Whereas, like, the first two games, you just have stuff in front of you. This game, you move around, like, a lot more. You can, like, go between different rooms. That will be really important later. I got another puzzle. So Greyhole, the area we're in right now, is like a hub area, so as we progress through the game, we'll open up more and more of it, and it's also where we access each of the levels, the main levels of the game. In order to do that, we got to turn on the power in each room with a puzzle like this one. Then we get to the switch and see the location of the first level, which is going to be the lighthouse, which is right there. Turning on the power here. Here's a good time to mention that dials, any sort of like rotating object like this, are capped at spinning at a specific speed. So if I spin it too fast, it'll actually spin backward, and that slows me down, and I don't want that. So now we are entering the first major level, the lighthouse. There's actually a couple of really fun things about this level that we'll get to see in a moment. First of all, we're going to go not to the obvious thing in the middle of the screen. Gotta solve this puzzle first. It's fastest to do it right now. To get this piece. So the main thing with the lighthouse is that there's going to be like a 3D map of Greyholm in the middle of the screen, or like the middle of the area, and that's going to be our main interaction, like the main stuff that we're doing in the level. So let's once again, we have to do that controlled spinning, because otherwise it'll autocorrect and spin backward. So, yeah, the main theme of the level is going to be centered around this map table. I don't really know what to call it. And we'll be going inside like some of the different buildings. This is actually a level later in the game, which is a really neat bit of foreshadowing, I guess. This is this room is the third chapter that we'll see later. You actually go to all 4 of the main levels during the lighthouse. It's really neat, and something you can really only appreciate on a second playthrough. This is not a main level. This is just a thing. We got shoot. You'll notice that most of the time I'm just doing puzzles from memory. There are built-in ways to figure out the solutions to all of the puzzles, but that's slow, so we're not gonna do it. Like, this puzzle, there's another puzzle that you can do to get the solutions to it, but that's slow, so we're not going to do it. Another thing worth mentioning here is that any sort of puzzles where you, like, slide stuff around will not register as completed until I release the mouse button. Which means I want to be flicking the mouse as much as possible. So that the puzzle registers as completed as soon as it can. Anyway, what we picked up are just 3 different pieces of the map, so we're going to place down one of them right now. Not there. Here. Now, it's worth noting that it's very important that I get through the lighthouse at a specific pace because of the clock setting that I mentioned at the start of the run. There's a system time-dependent puzzle that only opens after you complete the lighthouse. So I need to finish the lighthouse at a specific pace, so that way I am able to set my clock at the start of the run to time out that event. You'll see what I mean once we beat the lighthouse. Anyway, so this area is the clock tower, which is the second level of the game. And within the lighthouse, each of them just contains one of these little metal animal things that you can use to get an item. You saw we got a magnet from the forge area, and we got a boat. The boat will come into play later, but first we need to do all of this stuff on the diving helmet. This is just a sequence of puzzles that opens up a couple more items that we need. Quick neat time save here. I can open my inventory during this animation and open up that metal acorn for a puzzle later. Grab that item also for a puzzle later. A lot of this game comes down to just routing. As moving, excuse me, you want to avoid moving around as much as possible, since that takes time, obviously. So you'll notice I'm like avoiding moving the camera and just clicking stuff that I can't really see. That's why. Anyway, I mentioned I picked up a boat earlier. Here's what that's for. Now, there are, of the areas you go inside during the lighthouse, this is the only one that isn't an actual level in the game. I think it's from one of the ending cutscenes, but I have not verified this. Anyway, yep, just getting more puzzle items that will come into play later. Now we are going to return to the diving helmet, use this item that we picked up. This is another puzzle that doesn't end until I release the mouse button. So that was actually one of the cleanest runs I've ever had with that specific puzzle. And just more lever objects like this tend to be really finicky on PC, and I'm not sure why. I think it's just a quirk with how the game was ported to PC, as it was originally a mobile game. Apparently water graphics lag my PC a lot. Not sure why. I've turned down my graphics settings and it still lags. Anyway, now with all of these items, we can go in here. Now, I do think it's worth mentioning that there is a hotkey for the eyepiece, but it doesn't work during most animations where I could just click the button, so I've just clicked the button instead. So putting down that antler is going to open up this. Now we can crush this crystal and get the light rock. I don't know what the game calls it. Glowing gemstone. Anyway, here's the funny part of the lighthouse. So if you remember how I said how we go in each level in the game, well, this is the lighthouse. So now we're inside the lighthouse. And inside the lighthouse, there's another lighthouse, so we can go in the lighthouse. And inside this lighthouse, there's another crank, and that opens up another lighthouse. Now you'll notice with these cranks, once again, I have to control how fast I spin, so I go at the maximum possible speed without going too fast, so that it, to the point where the crank would go backward. It's a running theme with any rotatable object throughout the game. I just thought I'd mention it here, as it gets me a lot right here while I was practicing. Anyway, yeah, now we're gonna exit all of the lighthouses. And a lot of this level can be done in any order. It's just I've routed it out so that I do it in the order that minimizes travel time. There's a visual glitch there. The center tower of the castle just vanishes for some reason. I don't think that happens on mobile. I think it's only on PC. There's a lot of weird visual glitches on PC, and a lot of weird visual glitches on mobile, but they're different visual glitches. Not sure why that happens. Anyway, here's just a 15-second elevator cutscene. So, while we're waiting for the elevator, I should explain what 100% means, since this is a 100% speedrun. So in Greyholm, there's two sequences of hidden areas, or hidden items rather, that each lead to what the game calls a mysterious artifact. And each of those opens up a new ending. Flash warning. So each of the mysterious artifacts can be used during the ending sequence to open up a new ending. There's two artifacts that each opens up an ending on their own, and then placing both of them together opens up a third secret ending. So for the 100% speedrun, we have to get all 4 endings. Now we're going to be getting our first secret item now. So this is the clock puzzle, and was a routing nightmare when I first started playing this game. So the clock has a switch on it, and the switch is only open we're just gonna have to sit here for 10 seconds. The switch is only open every 15 minutes for about 30 seconds. And that every 15 minutes is based on your system clock. Here's another code that I just remember. And here's the first 2 crystals that we're gonna pick up. The second one will come up later. After we complete the forge, we're just going to do a run throughout the whole game, because then we'll have most of the castle unlocked. And then we can just go and rapid fire almost all of the 100% objectives. This puzzle is the first perspective puzzle in the game. The room really likes doing these, although there aren't very many in this game in particular. I always do this. Where we have to line stuff up so that when you look at it from the right angle, it makes a picture. And now the door's complete. Sorry for the noises, by the way. I am sick at the time of recording this. Also, the levels don't load sometimes. Not sure why that happens. Here's another power puzzle. Now, if you look at my splits, you'll notice I'm a bit behind my PB. That's fine. I have 4 minutes to save over my PB at the end of the run because of a glitch that wasn't discovered when I last PB'd. We're grabbing a couple items out of the way just to get them now. So all of these items in my inventory now are for 100% stuff, and they will come into play later. Like I said, we rapid fire most of the 100% stuff during the forge, or after the forge, because that's when we gain access to the last area of the castle. So there's 4 of these oscilloscope puzzles that you just have to match up the waves. I kind of glossed over it during during the study, but yeah, that's what we're doing there. Anyway, time for the clock tower. This level has there's a bird here. That's pretty cool. We will free the bird later. We have to do it to get something to happen. So we do get to free the bird. If any bird lovers are watching. Now here's a clock. That's crazy, I know. We're in the clock tower. So we got to open up the top. You see that pyramid there. Forgot to mention it earlier, but the objective of the game is to get all 5 of these pyramids. We got one in the intro sequence and one in the lighthouse. So we'll open that up later. Here's another inside the building thing. It's got a couple puzzles in here. So it's worth mentioning that if I get an item back after using it, it means I will be using it again. These levers are really finicky, and I can't figure out how to get them to work properly. I think it's just a quirk of the PC port, because I've never had that issue on mobile. Anyway, here is a sliding tile puzzle. I don't really know what else to call it. You slide the things. It's not really a sliding tile puzzle, but we have to slide each of the discs into the hole. And whenever I move a disc, it will move until it hits a wall. So it's worth noting that I can't buffer any of these actions. It will continue. It will not move until it won't accept any movement inputs until it has stopped moving. So each of these is going to get the clock running more and more. Now, yep, now the clock's actually running. And then this last one, since that hole's already filled, we can just land another one of the discs on it. Oops. Another optimization worth mentioning is I will always try and click the eyepiece during animation so I don't have to worry about mouse travel time as much. Because like I said, there is a hotkey, but I can't use it during animations. So, although I think if I click the button, then it lets me use the eyepiece hotkey during animations. It's really weird and janky. Very obviously a consequence of this game being a mobile release that was ported to PC. And like that, nope. For these puzzles, I glossed over it earlier. Also, shoutouts to these gears that Fireproof simply cannot get right. They've messed it up in different ways on both versions of the game. So those code puzzles, you just have to match the pattern to the one on the bottom of the screen. It's pretty simple. We're gonna place this gear down and open up the upstairs. This game really does have a lot of downtime. Here is the first of 3 bells that we're going to be seeing throughout this run, or throughout this level, rather. We have to ring 3 different bells. It is a clock tower after all. And each one will open up a different thing. The third one is going to open up the end of the level. So here's a puzzle. This puzzle's pretty simple, but there's a more complicated version of it later in the game. Yeah, that's, if I remember correctly, the clock tower split in the PB I'm comparing against was, like, particularly sloppy, so I probably am saving time here. Here's the chess puzzle. Hope you guys know how to play chess, because that's how this puzzle works. Gotta move the knight and capture all the pieces. I did one of those unoptimally, but oh well. We're gonna... So this time, for this puzzle, we just gotta get all of the gears, or all of the handles in place so we can move the covers out of the way. Whoops, I overshot again. Here is third one, and then 1, 2, 3, and now we're gonna finally be done with this crank handle. Because as you see, we don't get it back. And back with that. And now we're gonna open up the basement. Excuse me. So the basement is right behind me, and there's another few puzzles here, including possibly my single favorite puzzle in the game. It's just really satisfying to do quickly. You'll see that in a bit, but first, we have the funny auto-scroller puzzle. So this ballerina statuette that I got, we're going to put it on this puzzle right over here. And we have the music box puzzle, and so we got to wind up the music box first. This puzzle is very similar to the one at the start of the game, but more complicated. Did not get early cycle. Damn. If you're really good, you can click the button to open up the path before the ballerina makes one full rotation around the starting circle, and it saves about 5 seconds. Maybe not that much. But it saves a few seconds, and in a game like this, those optimizations are really nice. Yeah, there's really not a lot to say here. We just gotta time the presses to when the ballerina is gonna change path. I cannot do this section any faster. It is purely limited by the speed of the ballerina. And now that we've completed this puzzle, we are going to get a gem that we can use for the cool puzzle. So entering specific combinations by flipping the gems. They're shown below the screen, but obviously I don't need to look at that. I just memorize them. That's going to be a running theme here. There's the puzzle solutions. And here's a really fun and satisfying sequence. Now we're gonna do the other puzzle. So normally you're intended to like turn the light on and then arrange it so that the shadow lines up, but if I make it so that the shadow lines up first, it skips an animation. So Nice, that saves about 3 or 4 seconds. Like, this game is all about those micro optimizations that just add up over time. And one very not micro optimization right at the end of the run. Anyway, here's the bird. Yippee, we freed the bird. So, yep, here's the bird. He's so happy that we freed him that he's going to ring the bell for us. Yay. I actually have a fun story to tell. When I was first playing through this game casually, I could not figure out where this section was, because I was blind, I guess, and didn't see the music box on the left there. So it took me so long to figure out where that puzzle was. It's just in the basement. Granted, I first played this game like 8 years ago, so I was a stupid kid at the time. Anyway, here's a more complicated version of that castle puzzle we saw earlier. Yeah, I've just memorized the route here. There is like a bit of a maze to it, but once you know what you're doing, it's pretty simple. Alright, and now we can complete the clock. The clock tower was pretty solid. I'm gonna make up most of the time that I lost here, because like I said, the PB that I'm comparing against, I'm pretty sure had a pretty sloppy clock tower. Yeah, now we're ringing the third bell, and it's going to open up the pyramid. Yeah, you can see we just made up 16 seconds. I golded clock tower. That's crazy. I was not expecting that to be a gold. But sure. Anyway, we got another pyramid, so let's go put it on the pedestal. The table, whatever you want to call it. A lot of the time I'm going to be placing objects from like really far away, just to skip more of that travel time. I don't think it saves time on the table, but it's a bit easier, because I don't have to fool around with the camera as much. Light puzzle. This is the first light puzzle we've seen, and I think the only one in the run, actually. Which is surprising considering how many of them are in the first 2 games. Or the first game in particular really likes light puzzles. There's like a whole bunch of them. With that said, we're entering the conservatory now. This animation is really long, so we want to minimize it. Shout out to the room not loading. There we go. This animation is really long, so we want to avoid doing it as much as possible. So I've routed the game so that we only have to visit this room 3 times. Like that. Shoot, I've forgotten how to do this puzzle. There we go. That's a bit unfortunate, but it's fine. I know I can get a solid time if I just keep pace with my personal best, and then do the crazy time save at the end of the run that I'm not going to spoil because it's really cool and was only discovered pretty recently. But anyway, more power puzzles. You know the drill by this point. Hit the button, and then it turns on the oscilloscope. this one, we just gotta match it as closely as possible. I think I'm still a couple seconds behind my PB, but I'm definitely gaining time. Yep. Alright, this is the Forge, which is my favorite and simultaneously my favorite and least favorite level. It's really awkward to move around in this level just due to the way it's laid out. Excuse me. So, yeah, that's fun. Anyway, lag. As it turns out, water graphics just really lag my machine. No idea why, but they do. It's fun. So, the main thing with this level is that there's this water wheel. If you'll remember seeing the water wheel in the... that was the way I opened up the Forge on the Lighthouse map. So this water wheel is going to be powering a few different devices inside of the Forge. We're going to grab a couple items here that'll come into play later, and then a different item here that is not going to come into play later. It's going to come into play as soon as we get it. This puzzle was really confusing. All you have to do is just collect each color twice, like this. Also, as a fun fact, this is one of the most random differences from PC to mobile. In the mobile version, these are red and blue, but in the PC version, it's purple and green. I would assume it's to make it more colorblind friendly, but I have not gotten a definitive source on that. On the note of version differences, there are not very many on this particular version of the game, since there aren't, like, mobile motion control puzzles. The first two games had gyro puzzles, because it was built for a phone, obviously, so there were gyro puzzles, and they were really unintuitive, and also didn't work well once the game was ported to PC, so... Excuse me. Anyway, so this section is just unlocking this door using the sandbag. Placing it on the tiles. A funny thing that we do a lot in this level, there's a few different rooms, and a lot of the time, the first time we go in it, it's just, alright, we're gonna go in, do a single thing, and leave. In this case, we needed to open that door. So that we can put the sandbag in. We're gonna cut the sandbag open with the saw. And there's a gold bar in it for some reason. Don't know why. Or just generic nondescript metal, I guess. Looks like gold. It might not be. I don't know. I am not a metal worker or whatever. So this is the first puzzle I had to write down the solution to. I just have a note card next to me with solutions to puzzles that I can't remember. And this is the first one that I've needed it for. So we're gonna be using this. We're gonna take this metal bar and melt it down into a key. And the solution is this. Not that. That. Another fun story, actually, I can share. This speed tech with the bellows here, it was the first speed tech I had found while playing the game casually, and it was unironically, a big part of what inspired me to run this game. Just finding tech like that. So, you can see we got the key back, which means we're going to be using it again. And the way we're going to be using it again is by melting it down and making another key with this block now. Alright, and here's another puzzle. I hate this puzzle. It is really hard to do quickly, but I'm going to try and do that anyway. There we go. This piece has a really odd hitbox. I remember that catching me when I was practicing. So we've gotten the second part of the... So we can turn on the power to a different thing. This is gonna switch on a different... but before we do that, we're gonna go make another key. Code is that, and then I need to put the block in the bottom. And there we go. Without the writing this down, I really struggle to remember the key patterns. There's so many different combinations, and they're all really hard to remember. Anyway, we're gonna go and put this gear down. And it's gonna go over there, and then mysteriously stop for some reason. It looks really weird. I don't know why they did that. I could have just like had the track at the bottom end, but no, it just stops. We're gonna pick the chess piece. There's another one on the bench right there. We need both of them. We're gonna use the chess pieces right here to open up a puzzle. It opens up a puzzle that opens up the keyhole that we use this key in. Yep, this puzzle's pretty simple. I haven't really been mentioning it. This is one of the eyepiece things. You'll notice there's like a shimmering surface, and then we can see inside the box because it unloads. Shout out unloading entities before they're done being used. This puzzle is easier to do like this, since I can see a visual cue. Just gotta rotate everything into the right position. And hit the button, and it's gonna open up the keyhole. And here's another one of these puzzles. One, two, three. Yeah, we just gotta rotate the box to get it into the right position so that we can slide each of the gems in. It's really finicky on PC for some reason. There we go. There's this gemstone that's going to open up the third keyhole, but we got to make the third key first. Referencing my notes again for this one. It's like that and like that. there we go. That's the first. That's all of the keys done, so you'll notice I won't get the key back after I use it here. Yeah, this gemstone is going to open up that. And there we go. Like I said, I don't get the key back. And here's this puzzle is capped. Like we can't do it any faster. There's like there's just a hard capped number of rotations that I need to do to get all of the gems to line up in the middle there. And you'll see there's more switches that I need a key to do, but first, let's open up the third section. So this is going to open up that door behind me. Very fancy door. And here we're going to do the thing again where I just go in, do one thing, and leave. So we aren't going to see it yet, but the handle on this printer thing is going to break. So I need to make another one. So let's go make another one. We've got some woodworking tools. So let's just take this piece of wood, put it on here, cut it in half, and then put it in here. This is another pretty long cutscene, and I really don't have anything to say here. Also, apologies for the computer noises. My mic is really sensitive and picks up that kind of stuff. Anyway, now we have a handle that we could put on the printer thing. I don't know what to call it. Boom. The handle broke off. Oh no. Anyway. Yeah, control lockouts are really weird in this game, so sometimes I'll... Anyway, here's another puzzle that I always struggle to remember the code to, so I wrote it down. So, you'll notice a picture of a mechanical hand. Well, there's a mechanical hand over there, and that's what actually tells you what the code is, but we don't have time for that, so... Hey, look, there's the code that I just put in. So we have to slide that to the third position and then spin it, and then we get the key. This key we have to rearrange like that, and now we can hit all of these. Another weird glitch probably. This one that switch only moves the camera regardless of what order you do it in. And we're done with the forge, and I saved 25 seconds. I think what happened in my PB was I forgot like one of the combinations that I had to remember. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, it's artifact gathering time, so we're gonna be running around the castle and picking up almost all of the 100% requirements. But first I gotta open up the tower. Yeah, here's here's a book. And we're gonna go put it in the library like you would with a book. Makes sense. Library's this one. And we just have an elevator ride. Love that. That's safe, by the way. There's some lore significance to the safe shown in the picture in the book, but who cares about lore? We're speedrunning. Elevator time. This is just this is another big routing thing. Also camera glitch. I don't know why that happens now, but it didn't used to happen. It's strange. Anyway, this elevator is a big part of routing in this game. We want to minimize how many times we have to go up and down in the elevator because it takes 15 seconds each time, or something like that. So, the game does absolutely require you to go down and back up. That screwdriver is used to open up the oscilloscope in the study because we need to get a part out of it to fix the oscilloscope up here. Things like that. Shoot, this puzzle is always really tricky for me. There we go. So I am gonna bleed some time here, unfortunately. But I think in my PB I forgot to do this, so I'm gonna save time. I forgot to do something here, so I'm gonna save time later. That is the least intuitive puzzle in the entire game. When I played this game casually, I had to look up a walkthrough to figure this one out. It is just really weird. You have to like use this weird like trackball thing to swing the light into that and knock the safe down. Yeah, I bled a ton of time there, but I think in my PB I forgot to do this and I had to come back up and do it later. So we're gonna save a bunch of time later. Another weird camera glitch. So like I said, we are absolutely required to go back down once just to beat the game because we have to go get the oscilloscope component from the study. So let's go do that. Here's the second crystal that we need. That'll open up a thing later. But not until we go back to the conservatory, which is where we're going to use it. So here's that token that I picked up, or the mechanism that I picked up earlier that turns into a key I can use to open up the desk. Here's just a sequence of puzzles on the desk. This one's going to open up that. And then we can... Come on. Excuse me. This puzzle, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to get the first of 4 tokens. Okay, so I guess I just used to split before I did the safe puzzle, because yeah, that must be what's happening, because I lost 40 seconds and then gained a minute. Anyway, unskippable cutscene. I hope you guys like this cutscene because we're going to be watching it 4 times. This is Mystical Maggie, and they're going to give us key items, but first I have to watch this cutscene. So I put in a token, watch this, and then I get a key item. The 4th time I do that is going to give me the artifact, but we're not going to see that until after I'm done with the observatory, just due to how I routed it. There really isn't a lot else I can say to fill this here. We're going to get hinted at each of the endings. So that's Imprisoned, which is the bad ending, and the ending that you get if you don't pick up any extra stuff, which is what we're doing now. for the math puzzle, there's some more lore stuff. Now we're going to return to the entrance. This is normally something you wouldn't ever do playing through the game normally, but yeah, there's a basement here, so sure. Anyway, we gotta get the... Where are we gonna do the math puzzle? So we gotta open up all three of these. You can do them one at a time, but it's faster to open up all three at once. So the solution is 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2. And as you can see, once we've finished all of them, it'll automatically turn on this. And it's going to turn on a thing in the library. So let's go check that out. So this is going to turn on the phone in the library. So there's a phone next to a recorder. And we're going to turn on the phone, and it's going to turn on the recorder. There's the phone. And so now we're going to pick up the recorder. Or pick up the item inside of the recorder. And go back to the basement. I love backtracking. There really isn't a faster way to do most of this. The game just wants you to go back and forth. But of course, since the Mystical Maggie is in the library, if we get a token, which we are, spoiler alert, we're going to get a token from this puzzle. Memory puzzle. So yeah, that puzzle is a memory puzzle. You just have to open the drawers, open and close the drawers in the order that the cards appear on. Forgot to split, whoops. We're gonna go back to Mystical Maggie. You can see the token disappear if I move that in and out fast enough. That's the only entertaining part of this sequence. So sorry about the coughing. I am, like I said, I'm sick while recording this, but I can't really record this another time because submission is closed in 3 days. So yeah, Mystical Maggie's gonna show us a different ending called Lost. Now, the order the game shows these endings, or sorry, escape, Lost is the 4th ending. It's imprisoned, escape, release, lost. That's they have different ending cutscenes, and the game does actually acknowledge that you have a 100% complete file if you've gotten all 4 endings, so obviously that's our goal here. So we're back here in the conservatory. We have 2 things we need to do. First thing we need to do is play the record player. Gotta crank it. You can see it autocorrect there because I was cranking too fast. I love this song. Rotary telephone. Hope you know how to... The game's like, yeah, hope you know how to use a rotary telephone. So we're going to enter the number, that 1795 was the number that we saw on the phone in the library, and it's going to call the phone in the library. Anyway, we're going to place down the box here. And it's going to turn on this machine. Now, this is another puzzle that you normally are supposed to use the eyepiece for, but that's hard. We could just remember what we need to click. And it's going to turn the metal box into a metal sphere. Or an orb, if you will. And then putting the crystals on that machine is going to turn on this. This is a puzzle that I really haven't routed out. It's just, the arrow is going to point me where to go. We get to listen to the fun, like, elevator music while we do this. Oops, I didn't go far enough. It's a little bit of time loss, but it's fine. And here's our first artifact. I've never heard the song reach this part. Genuinely, I normally do the record player after the artifact. I just decided to do it in a different order today. It doesn't really matter what order you do it in. So, we're gonna return to the library. You'll hear the phone ringing. We don't want to answer it yet because we have to do something first. So, if you'll remember that we picked up the cube from up here a while ago. So, putting the sphere on the other side will turn it into a pop-up machine. Don't click that button because it loses 10 seconds. I've done that before on accident. It's not fun. You just have to sit there and think about what you've done. So now we can put the wax cylinder in the recorder and answer the phone. And it's going to play hold music. Like the elevator music, or like phone hold music, or something like that. And it's going to record it onto the wax cylinder. There we get the etched wax cylinder. Now we go back up. And we can put it in the phonograph. I believe is what this machine is called. There's a lot of old technology. This game's set in, like, I think, I don't know when this game is set time period wise, genuinely. It's hard to tell. There's so much, like, weird technology. Anyway, there's the token. So, we get to watch Mystical Maggie again. Yippee! I love Mystical Maggie. It's such a fun addition to the 100% route. Yeah, jokes aside, this is my least favorite part of 100%, is just having to watch this 3 times in 10 minutes. Really not a lot to do here. Maggie's going to tell us about our third ending, which is release. Yeah, we're not going to do the endings in that order. I prefer to do them in a slightly different order because of the release I do first because it's the most difficult. But we'll get there when we get there. Anyway, back up to the tower. Funny camera glitched. And we're gonna go up. And since we already turned on the power, we can just go ahead and do the oscilloscope, but I need to grab this key first. Here's another perspective puzzle. And a weirdly finicky one at that. Now we just do the power puzzle like usual, and we're off to the observatory. And yeah, you can see the oscilloscope's broken. That's why we have the electrical component. Yeah, and off we go to the observatory, which is the longest of the 4 main chapters. Apparently, I'm 1 minute and 5 seconds ahead. Yeah, I had a lot of time to gain on that section. So, this is the observatory. It is the longest section, the longest, like, unbroken section in the game. There's a bunch of puzzles and a bunch of sequence breaks protection, because the devs learned their lesson from the previous game where they forgot to add sequence break protection. There's a major sequence break you could do. I'd show it off, but yeah. Here is puzzle. So this is what I was talking about with sequence break protection, is I cannot proceed until I place down this parchment thing. I don't have to do anything with it, I just have to place it down. Since that is normally supposed to give you a code that we're gonna use here in a second, I just wrote down the code because doing the puzzle is slow. So yeah, that's going to line up our telescope. So there's 3 telescope puzzles. Where we just have to line up the telescope and then line up like the view on the telescope. Once again, there's a thing we have to place down. Don't have to do anything with it. I just have to place it down. The game will not progress unless I do. This. So you'll see there's a 3rd light up there, so there's a 3rd puzzle, but we're not going to do it until way later in the level. This game's just funny like that. Excuse me. With that, we're going to use this handle to open up the observation deck. See, it's nighttime. Really pretty sky, honestly. Shout out observatory. So we're gonna grab an item there, and then we're going to open up the map room or whatever. I don't really know what it's called. There's a map in there. We'll come back out and do the rest of the stuff here, but we gotta open up this room first and grab some items. And by some items, I mean 1 item. And that item is this. Anyway, I don't like that room because it is home to 2 of my least favorite puzzles in the game. And they're not my absolute least favorite. That title still goes to that ridiculous safe puzzle. But yeah, they're definitely not high points. So you can see we've lined up the sundial. Now we can go to the sundial and click the... And it flips over for some reason. This game's weird like that. So anyway, here is gear puzzle. As our in-universe character just observed. We can remove the gear. So we can do a different gear puzzle. I messed up there. Well, if you're good, you can flick it to the middle, which is where it needs to be later. Orb. Yeah, it really needs to be there. Oops. 1, 2, 3. And we're done with the gear puzzle. And we pull out the planet model. Here's the pyramid for the end of the level, but I can't get to it yet. We need to open it up. And in order to do that, we need to do all of this. Now that is a thing that will open up later, but first we need to get this, that weird piece of metal that is going to come into play in a bit, and we just line up the pieces here. So yeah, obviously we need to get all 4 of the planets moving. If you noticed, if you were looking closely, you'd noticed a gear on the 4th one. That is obviously what we need to open the cage, or to get to the pyramid. So this is going to drop that chandelier thing. If you heard a second crash, I wonder what that could possibly be. Anyway, let's just let's not pay attention to that for right now. Let's just do the last of the planet puzzles. And we're gonna get, or the last of the planet puzzles we'll be doing for right now. There's a 4th one that we do later. Foreshadowing. Anyway, we're gonna get an upgrade for the telescope. And let's go. And you'll see we got things for the telescope as well. So let's go use them. And now we put the zoom lens on. Line up that. And it's going to turn on the map, which is behind a door because we got to open it first. And hey, look at that. There's a chandelier that fell in here. That's crazy. Time for another really unfun puzzle first, though. This puzzle's just really clunky and awkward, and I don't like it. Gotta remember how to do it. So I do like this, like this, like this. Boom. Not the best time I've had with this puzzle. Yeah, doing this puzzle quickly is really difficult. I've done it faster in practice, but I just can't remember the lines. Anyway, time for another really unfun puzzle. Just because of this moves so slowly on the PC version, and I have no idea why. Overshot it. It's there. This is another like sequence break protection thing. You have the code will not be accepted unless it is being actively revealed. And here's the last one, and I need to log in for this, since this is possibly the most difficult puzzle in the game. So this is the maze, and now the game does give you a map of the maze. To my left, there is a map of the maze that is, that if you use the eyepiece will actually highlight where you are. But that's slow. I just gotta remember. Nope. You will see me try to turn when I stand on each of these pedestals. There's 6 of them, and each of them activates something. I need to do all 6 in order to complete the puzzle. So yeah, I believe it is frame perfect. You can turn during that animation, and it saves about 1 second. So I am 0 for 2 so far. I call it a quick turn. And I think I maybe got 1 or 2 in my PB. I don't remember. That was like 8 months ago. Oh for 3. So yeah, I just remember the optimal route throughout this maze. Oops. Yeah, this maze is really obnoxious as a casual player, but I've just memorized the layout. Yep, we're gonna go through here. And here's the 3rd switch to open up the 3rd, like, 0 for 5 on quick turns. That's really unfortunate. I have not, I might see if I can develop a setup for that, because right now it's just kind of a total crapshoot. I do the last one for funnies? Nope. The last one doesn't save any time, but it looks funny, so I'm gonna do it. So I try to do it anyway. Orb. Anyway, we can now go place it on the... We now have the last piece of the planet puzzle, and we can go finish up the observatory. Yeah, and it's going to open up, and there's a puzzle inside. This puzzle is very reminiscent of the one at the end of the clock tower. It's actually a lot more obnoxious on the mobile version. They made it way easier on the PC version because it normally relies on being able to press on 2 places at once. Anyway, that's the end of the observatory, and we're going to head on to the ending sequence. But first, I need to grab a couple more artifacts. Um, you'll see I have a key now, so we're gonna go unlock something with the key. Crazy. Yeah, there's one puzzle left in the conservatory. I couldn't do it earlier because I had to get the token first. I might end up adjusting the route to see if I can minimize trips to the conservatory, but right now it seems to be hard capped at 3. So yeah, here's the thing. We can go inside and line up the keyhole because we have to do that first. There's a funny glitch I'm going to do here. It doesn't actually save any time. Actually, it loses like 3 seconds, but it's really funny, so I'm going to do it anyway, since I'm so far ahead. Now we can't actually turn the key yet, because we have to go in here, and we need to hit the switch on the inside of the key. Now here's the funny glitch I talked about. I love doing this. It's so silly. It loses a bunch of time, but it looks really funny. I'm not going to do it a second time because it loses more time on the second key switch. It's just a funny thing that you can do. There are other places in the game where you can do that glitch, but I have not found any practical application for it. It's just a silly little party trick. Now that we've unlocked the key, our controls are locked for a shockingly long time there. Now we can go and get the token. As you can see, I am losing a little bit of time, unfortunately. I gained time. I would have gained more time, though, had I not done the glitch, obviously. Anyway, time for the last token. We're gonna kill Mystical Maggie. Spoilers. Yeah, so we're gonna go over here. Cutscene's gonna play out like normal. Funny token slot glitch. Alright. Last Mystical Maggie cutscene. Yippee! We're almost done. Now's a good time to mention that the ending, the 4 endings can be done in any order. So I have a suggested like donation incentive for selecting the ending order. Just because it's a fun thing. Anyway, Rip Mystical Maggie. Anyways, but we got the last artifact. So, yeah, like I said, I do have a suggested like donation incentive for the marathon for ending order, since I can do the endings in any order, and that would be locked in right here as I pick up the Craftsman's Key. So at the end of this cutscene. The order I do the endings in is just in order of I do Release and Lost first because they both require an extremely difficult puzzle, and then after that it doesn't matter. I do Escape last because I feel like it. It feels weird to end on Imprisoned. Obviously Imprisoned is like the bad ending. Don't want to end on the bad ending. Alright, ending sequence. I do this ending sequence 4 times. It is exactly the same until the very end. I probably should have said a flash warning there. yeah, we're gonna have this ending sequence. I've gotten really good at this because I have to do it 4 times in every 100% speedrun. And also there's another category that I run where this is like the only part of the run that matters. There's this category called cheat percent where you use the skip chapter button to just skip the entire game. Obviously it's banned in any other category because it would be boring. But yeah, in cheat percent, since you can just skip the whole game, this is the only part of the game that matters. So I have to be very good at it to get a good time in that category. So this is a light puzzle. Surprise, light puzzles return. Excuse me. Yeah, we have the return of the light puzzle. So we're gonna get some mirrors. And here is a very simple puzzle. This would be the last puzzle if I was doing Imprisoned, but we're not doing Imprisoned first. There we go. So those 2 weird pillar things are gonna appear on the sides, and the door is gonna appear. So that door will transport us into whatever ending we do. Now, the first ending we do isn't Imprisoned, because I need to do this first. So I always do Release first, and then Lost. It just works a bit better that way. This is the hardest puzzle in the game, so I have to write down the solution. 1, 2, 3, left. There we go. And now it is time for the single largest time save in the entire game. Recently I discovered that you can skip the ending cutscene by doing this. Shoot. There we go. That saves a minute. We're gonna do it 3 more times. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know if it got picked up on the OBS game capture, but what I do there is I can Alt-Tab out of the window, and it skips the ending cutscene. I have no idea why it does this, but you can do it on mobile, on the Android version as well by just hitting the back button. It skips the ending cutscene, and in 100%, that glitch alone saves 4 minutes. So yeah, it is the main enabler of sub 140, which you're probably going to see now because I am 2.5 minutes ahead of my 143 with time to save. I will say I have been mentioning, like, comparing against my PB. That is my recorded PB. Yesterday I did get an unrecorded world record of 138, which this run is on pace to match. And yeah, that run yesterday was the first sub 140 ever that anyone's ever gotten in 100%, and this, if I don't make any mistakes, will be the first is on pace to be the first sub 140 that anyone has gotten on recording in this game's entire history. Yep, here we go, ending. We're just playing the ending sequence like normal. Everything is the same, but this is lost, so we're going to do the puzzle slightly differently. We're going to do the ending puzzle slightly differently, that is. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, this is the easy puzzle, and then you saw there was a harder version of this puzzle for the release artifact. So lost is the secretist ending. You have to have both artifacts, and there's another layer of puzzle. You'll notice I've been holding onto the screwdriver. This is where it comes into play. So ordinarily, the game doesn't like it when the game tries to prevent you from turning on both artifacts, because if you hit the button to turn on one of them, it'll turn off the other one. Like, it'll put the platform in front of it that you saw. This puzzle is like super easy. You just keep the beam in the hole. There we go. You really can't go faster than that. So yeah, hitting this button opens up it like unblocks the light beam. So if I hit this button, it'll switch the ending I get to release. I don't want to do that. I already did release. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 2. So now, instead of hitting the button, we're going to do this. Alright, so this is the Lost portal. Now, there's a really cool cutscene that plays here, but unfortunately we're not going to see it. Shoot. Also, if you listen closely, you can hear the ending cutscene is still playing in the background because of just how the audio track works. So, it's easiest to hear with Imprisoned, which is the ending we're doing right now. Yeah, it's the ending sequence again. Not really a lot to say. I guess I can share a fun story where one time I was just doing a run on stream and did Imprisoned twice by accident and lost about 5 minutes. So that was a fun oops. Oops, your run's dead now. Right at the end of a 2-hour-long run. So I'm not making that mistake again. Yep, it's the same puzzles again. We won't be doing any of the artifact puzzles this time, since Imprisoned is the bad ending where you don't do any of the secrets. This is the ending that you will get if you just play through the game normally, without doing anything, without doing any of the 100% stuff. So sorry about the coughing. Yeah, so here we do this puzzle again. 2, 3. So yeah, in an any percent speedrun, this is where the game would end, is after this cutscene that's coming up. And if you remember the train at the start of the game, well, you'll notice that there's a train door when I first turn on the when it first appears. It's a train. It's a train compartment. So let's go check out what's there this time. And we're back on the train where we started. There's our suitcase with. The craftsman leaves us a note. I haven't really mentioned this. The craftsman is like the main guy who set up all of the stuff on Grey Holm. And yeah, you can hear the train cutscene playing in the background. And yeah, he just traps us on the train. That's kind of rude of him, not gonna lie. But now we're gonna escape from the craftsman. And you weren't gonna see it, but Grey Holm gets destroyed. Like, the entire castle is both released and lost. The entire castle and everything around it is completely destroyed. Or escape and release. Yeah, that's what I said. Lost has nothing to do with it, and it's just completely weird. This series' lore is just strange. There's like a bunch of notes all over the place. You saw me open one at the start of the game that have like lore dumps in them, but we don't have time for that. We would if I was running all notes, which is a funny meme category that I've suggested, where you have to read every note, but yeah, that's right now just more endings. Gotta do the thing. You can see my best possible time is 1:39:17. So yeah, this is a pretty solid run. If I time my gold here, I'm getting sub 140. And even if I don't time my gold, it's this ending cuts. I'm so consistent at this ending sequence because of my experience with cheat percent that this is all entirely automatic at this point. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. So we do have to do escape here, so I am gonna need to do one of the puzzles, but it's the easy puzzle, not the hard puzzle. I already did the hard puzzle. Yep, there's the train. We're not gonna go on the train. I'm not gonna do the thing again where I is imprisoned twice and lose 5 minutes. It's not happening. Yep. So, like I said, this puzzle earlier, you just keep the beam in the hole. Very simple. Very hard to mess up once you know what you're doing. And yeah, this is a pretty solid pace. Alright. As soon as the cutscene loads. There it is. You get to listen to the escape cutscene. This is my final time as per the current leaderboard rules, but there's my real time on the left. 139.16. This is a 137.36 by the current leaderboard rules, which is almost 6 minutes faster than the current world record. No, please shut up. There we go. So yeah, that's the run. Thanks for watching, I guess.